And I will ask the entire panel this question. Is there anyone on the panel who would support a tax increase for future budget cycles? No? It's pretty clear, right?
Whether like the end of time?
What about it? No. Well, let's just keep it to the next budget cycle. All right. Mr. Rollins, how are you? You were a big guy on public-private partnerships, and you mentioned the desire to create public-private partnerships to help issues like education and parks. But in this economy, how realistic is that goal?
Good evening. First of all, it's a pleasure to be in this church. It's got a lot of great history, and thank you for having us. And second, it's the first time I've seen the Boy Scouts out, so it's good to have you here. I was a Life Scout and did not get all the way to Eagle, so keep working, okay? But it's a great organization. Gomer, I think the answer to the question is not only is it realistic, it's got to happen. Because we're not going to be able to make changes in public entities fast enough and with enough money. We don't have enough money to make the significant changes we're dealing with. And it's whether it's a toll road or whether it's dealing with education. We've got to think innovatively about how we restructure government. In business has to change all the time. And if it doesn't, it kind of goes bankrupt and somebody takes it over and there's, a new CEO comes in and they change everything up. Government seems to evolve much slower. I think what this economic situation has created is a sense of necessity because we need to do better in our schools. We've got to do better. And the only way we're going to do it is not just beg more in Austin, okay, for more money. We're going to have to create a new way where the public-private side takes off the burden of DISD, of early child care, of after school, of some of the resources they need. This is exactly what we did with the homeless issue. I mean, people said there's not enough money to deal with homelessness. We created a public-private partnership where we raised over $13 million of non-city money for a 5-year period to deal with this, and we brought chronic homelessness down by almost 60%. So some people say, well, how realistic is that? And it's like, this is amazing to me. I don't know how many people got one of these, okay? And it's like, how realistic is this? It's going to be hard. But you know what? It can be done. And through creative ways, we can create the iPhone for Dallas. I believe that. I really do. We have to be creative and thoughtful about that. So I think it is, and I've laid out some of the plans to do that. So I think it's a good question. We need to be cynical in this, but we also need to be hopeful.
Let's hear from the other panelists about public-private partnerships. Are they a reality in this environment?
No, it's important to reach out to the business community because they need to be stakeholders, and the traditional business community used to live in Dallas no longer exists, and they've largely been absent in much of the civic affairs, the school district, and working with city government. I'm proud as a police chief, though. I've raised $18 million from foundations and private corporations to benefit the Dallas Police Department, the largest private donations given to any American police department ever. It is, but it always, I find it a little frustrating when people talk about government being the same as business, because in business you have a lot of money to throw at a very narrow problem. And for example, when Mike was with Pizza Hut, I think they spent $2.5 million to put a banner on a Soviet rocket to promote Pizza Hut. You can't do that in government. There's not enough money and too many people that want. You've got unlimited money and unlimited demand range for city services.
See, now, Chief, I'm gonna have to get Mr. Rollins to respond to that.
You want him to respond first, or can I
Well, we'll get to him. Councilman, what about? No, Councilman, you go
get
ahead.
it? May
Bob.
cool off by the time we get down to you.
Right.
You know, public-private partnerships do work, and they work even in a down economy. About 18 months ago, the city formed a public-private partnership with the Zoological Society to take over the day-to-day management of the Dallas Zoo. Our zoo had languished for years. We put that program together. It costs less tax dollars today. The Zoological Society is doing a better job of managing the zoo. The employees are happier. Everybody's having a better experience. And the private sector is bringing additional resources to the zoo through philanthropic donations that they would never have given if the zoo was a city-run facility, because they're afraid it's going to get lost in the bowels of City Hall. So the net result is, through that partnership, we've got a better zoo, everybody has a better experience, and it costs the taxpayers less money. And we could go through a litany of those, but I don't think you want to stay here all night, and let me give you a list of them. But trust me, they do work, but they have to be good for both parties. If it's a lopsided deal, it doesn't work. So it's got to be good to the private sector that's stepping up, and it's got to be good for the city and the citizens.
Thank you.
When you talk, let's have some distinction about public and private. When you're talking about public, you're talking about cost and benefit. When you're talking about private, you're talking about return, investment. So when you combine the two, what you want to do is, it has to be specific and it has to be time constrained. So what are the functions or services at the City Hall that we can privatize to free the taxpayers' money so that they can have a bigger bang for resources? For instance, real estate. If the City of Dallas were to privatize some aspect of the real estate they have, they will put back on the tax roll about $8 million, and at the same time release the obligation to up to $150 million. Those things are specifics. Let's look at the state of Arizona. The state of Arizona has privatized their state capital for 10 years so that they can get resources. So real estate becomes one of those. We're not going to privatize our roads. We're not going to privatize our water. But certain real estate that the city has is an encumbrance on the city resources. So the private sector has an economy of scale that is advantageous to that aspect. So it works, but it has to be specific and the project has to be defined. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Rollins, there was a Pizza Hut reference.
Chief Kunkel was, I'm glad he was chief of police, but he was wrong on two accounts. One, it was $1.2 million, not 2.5, okay? Thought it was the stupidest idea of all time. My PR guys came and said, let's paint, we were doing a whole new logo. And we said, let's paint the Pizza Hut logo on the side of a rocket ship. It cost us $1.2 million. I said, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. We got about $25 million of PR out of the thing. And that's what he doesn't understand. He says private business is about throwing lots of money on a thing. For you Boy Scouts, business is about putting as little money as you can get in there and get the greatest return on that equity. And that's what we're doing with the city. We want to take as little taxpayer dollars as we can and have as much fun at the parks. And it's have much fun, have the crime as low as potential. So it's all about leveraging our tax dollars or private equity in business.